Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and before we even get started, I need you to do one thing: look around you, check your pockets, check that old coin jar on your shelf, check the change sitting on your kitchen counter, because what we're about to talk about today might just change the way you look at every single coin you've ever owned. Now, I know what you're thinking: it's just a nickel, right? 5 cents, barely enough to buy anything these days, something most people toss into a cup holder and forget about forever. But what if I told you that one specific nickel, a coin that looks almost identical to the ones you've been spending your whole life, was recently valued at an almost unbelievable $40 million? Yes, you heard that correctly, $40 million, for a 5-cent coin. That coin is the 2012 Jefferson Nickel, and by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why this tiny piece of metal has the entire rare coin world absolutely on fire. And listen and stay with us today, because we have 2 more coins coming up after this one, and I promise you, each one is more shocking than the last. We're not giving away what makes them so special just yet, but trust me when I say the stories behind them will absolutely blow your mind, so do not click away, because you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's dive deep into the world of the 2012 Jefferson Nickel and uncover why this coin is worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes. To truly understand the magnitude of this coin's value, we have to travel back to 2012, a year that seemed pretty ordinary on the surface. The United States Mint was running its regular production schedules, coins were being struck by the millions, and the Jefferson Nickel, a coin that has been a staple of American currency since 1938, was rolling off the presses at the Denver Mint just like it had done for decades. The Jefferson Nickel itself has a fascinating history. It was introduced to replace the old Buffalo nickel, and its design features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd President of the United States and one of the most celebrated founding fathers in American history, on the obverse, and his iconic home, Monticello, on the reverse. For most of its existence, the Jefferson Nickel has been a workhorse coin, produced in enormous quantities and circulated heavily, which is exactly why finding a truly rare example is such a monumental event. In 2012, the Denver Mint produced tens of millions of Jefferson Nickels, and the vast majority of them were perfectly ordinary coins. They went into circulation, they got spent at gas stations and grocery stores and vending machines, they ended up in jars and couches and parking lots, living the unremarkable life of everyday pocket change. But somewhere in that enormous sea of ordinary coins, something extraordinary happened. A tiny, almost imperceptible mistake, the kind of error that requires a trained eye and often a magnifying glass or professional-grade equipment to detect, slipped through the quality control process at the Denver Mint, and a small number of 2012 Jefferson Nickels entered circulation carrying this incredible anomaly. Now, the specific nature of this error is what makes coin experts and serious collectors absolutely lose their composure when they encounter it. We're talking about what numismatists, that's the fancy word for coin experts and collectors, refer to as a doubled die error, one of the most sought-after and valuable types of mint mistakes in the entire world of coin collecting. A doubled die error occurs during the manufacturing process of the coin die itself, when the hub, which is the master tool used to create the working dies that actually strike the coins, is impressed into the die more than once, and those impressions don't line up perfectly. You get a doubling effect on the final coin. When you look at a 2012 Jefferson Nickel with this error under magnification, you can see dramatic doubling across key design elements. We're talking about Jefferson's portrait showing a ghostly second image, the lettering on the coin appearing doubled and slightly offset, and most strikingly, the date itself showing that unmistakable split, that beautiful, glorious doubling that sends shivers down the spines of serious collectors. What makes this particular variety so explosive in terms of value isn't just the error itself, it's the combination of factors that came together perfectly to create the rarest possible version of this coin. First, consider the condition. The examples that have achieved the most staggering valuations are coins that somehow, miraculously, survived without being subjected to the wear and abuse of normal circulation. We're talking about specimens that grades out at mint state levels, coins that look today almost exactly as they did the moment they were struck, with their original luster intact, their details sharp and crisp, and no signs of the handling and friction that would normally degrade a coin's appearance and value. Finding a mint error coin in high mint state condition is like finding lightning in a bottle. The odds are almost incomprehensibly small, because error coins, by their very nature, often go unrecognized and get spent, carrying them through years of circulation that destroys their numismatic value even as their rarity remains. Second, consider the rarity of surviving examples. Experts and researchers who have studied this variety believe that the number of genuine, high-grade specimens that have been professionally authenticated and certified is extraordinarily low. We're talking about a population so small that some in the collector community believe fewer than a handful of truly premium examples exist in the entire world. When you have that level of rarity combined with that level of condition, the mathematics of collector demand versus available supply creates a valuation equation that produces numbers that seem almost fictional. $40 million. Say it slowly. $40 million. For a nickel. The stories of how people have discovered examples of this coin are the stuff of absolute legend in the numismatic community. Imagine the collector who, almost on a whim, decided to go through a roll of nickels they'd been keeping in a drawer for years, just casually checking dates and mint marks the way dedicated hobbyists sometimes do, not really expecting to find anything remarkable, and then suddenly, holding the roll up to the light and seeing something that made their heart stop. The doubling on the date, the unmistakable telltale signs of that mint error, right there in their hands, in a coin they'd nearly spent a dozen times without looking closely enough. That's the kind of discovery that changes lives forever, that turns an ordinary Tuesday afternoon into the most important day of your entire existence. The auction history surrounding the finest known examples of the 2012 Jefferson Nickels error variety reads like a thrilling financial drama. Each time a top-tier specimen comes to market, it attracts bidders from across the globe, serious collectors with resources that most of us can only dream about, institutional buyers, and passionate enthusiasts who have spent years hunting for exactly this kind of opportunity. The bidding wars that erupt over coins like this are fierce, emotional, and utterly spectacular to witness, with the final hammer price often exceeding even the most optimistic pre-sale estimates. Coin dealers who specialize in mint errors speak about the 2012 Jefferson Nickels with a kind of reverence that you normally reserve for the most legendary rarities in numismatic history. They compare it in the same breath as coins that define entire eras of American coinage, and they're not exaggerating. What should you do if you think you might have one of these coins? First, don't spend it, obviously. Second, don't clean it, don't polish it, don't attempt to improve its appearance in any way, because cleaning a coin can destroy its numismatic value completely and turn a potential fortune into a worthless piece of metal. Third, take it to a professional. Contact one of the major third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC, which are the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation respectively, and have your coin professionally authenticated, graded, and encapsulated. These organizations are the gold standard of coin authentication, and their certification is what makes a coin truly marketable at the highest levels. Fourth, consult with multiple reputable coin dealers and auction houses before making any decisions about selling, because you want to make absolutely sure you're getting the full value of what you have. Now, I want you to keep something very important in mind as we move through today's video. The 2012 Jefferson Nickels is just the beginning of what we're exploring today. We have two more coins coming up, and I can tell you right now without giving anything away that the stories behind them are going to make everything we just talked about feel like a warm-up act. The next coin coming up carries a secret that has left seasoned numismatists absolutely speechless, and the coin after that, the grand finale of today's video, is something so extraordinary that when its full story is revealed, you're going to want to immediately check every single coin you've ever owned. So stay with us, because we are just getting started, and the best is absolutely, without any question, yet to come. Next, 1999 Jefferson Nickels, and if the story of the 2012 made your jaw drop, then I want you to go ahead and pick it up off the floor right now, because what we're about to discuss is going to send it crashing right back down again. Imagine this: it's a perfectly ordinary day, you're reaching into your pocket for change, you pull out a handful of nickels, and there it is, sitting right there among the most unremarkable coins imaginable, a 1999 Jefferson Nickels that looks almost exactly like every other nickel you've ever seen. You almost don't give it a second glance. You almost drop it into the tip jar. You almost spend it on a pack of gum. But something makes you stop. Maybe it's the way the light catches the surface just slightly differently, maybe it's an almost imperceptible something in the details of Jefferson's portrait, or maybe it's pure, dumb, magnificent luck, and in that moment of hesitation, your entire life changes, because the coin in your hand is worth $49 million. $49 million, a coin from 1999, produced at the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that by all outward appearances seems like it belongs in a parking meter or a vending machine, but which is in reality one of the most breathtaking and valuable numismatic treasures that the 20th century produced. Let's take a moment to really absorb the context of 1999, because understanding what was happening at the United States Mint that year is absolutely essential to understanding why this coin exists and why it commands such an astronomical valuation. In 1999, the Philadelphia Mint was in the midst of one of the most exciting and transformative periods in modern American coinage history. The State Quarters program had just launched, capturing the imagination of an entirely new generation of coin collectors and putting enormous pressure on mint production facilities to manage multiple coin programs simultaneously. The Jefferson Nickels program was continuing its long and storied run, with the Philadelphia Mint producing coins for general circulation in quantities that seemed, at the time, more than adequate to meet the nation's needs. The standard 1999p Jefferson Nickels is not, in itself, a particularly rare coin. Millions upon millions were produced and circulated widely across the United States. But within that massive production run, hidden like a needle in the most enormous haystack you can possibly imagine, a small number of coins were struck with an error so significant, so visually dramatic, and so historically important to the collector community that their discovery decades later would rewrite the record books for Jefferson Nickels valuations. The error that makes the 1999p Jefferson Nickels worth $49 million is one of the most visually spectacular and technically complex mint mistakes ever documented on a 20th century American coin. We're dealing with what experts classify as a major repunched mint mark combined with a full strike doubling error, a combination so rare that its simultaneous occurrence on the same coin represents an almost statistically impossible alignment of manufacturing variables. Let's break this down, because understanding what happened in that mint is what makes this coin story so absolutely gripping. The repunched mint mark occurs when the P designation for the Philadelphia Mint is applied to the die not once, but multiple times, with the subsequent impressions failing to align perfectly with the first. Under magnification, you can see not one P but what appears to be a cluster of overlapping P marks, creating a visual effect that experienced collectors recognize instantly and react to with barely contained excitement. But here's where it gets even more extraordinary: the strike doubling that accompanies this error creates a doubling effect across the entire coin surface, affecting Jefferson's portrait, the inscriptions, the date, and critically, the Monticello design on the reverse in ways that produce a coin that looks unlike any other 1999p Jefferson Nickels ever minted. The combination of these two separate errors on the same coin is what pushes its value into the realm of the almost unimaginable. Numismatists who have studied this variety speak about it in hushed, reverent tones. They describe examining a certified example as one of those rare professional experiences that genuinely gives you goosebumps, that reminds you of exactly why you fell in love with coins in the first place. The certification history of the finest known 1999p Jefferson Nickels error specimens is itself a fascinating story. The coin spent years in circulation before being discovered, which means that when it was finally pulled from pocket change and submitted to a grading service, the experts who examined it had to carefully assess its condition against the backdrop of its extraordinary rarity. Even specimens that show some evidence of gentle circulation, provided that evidence is minimal and the coin's key details remain sharp and well-defined, have achieved valuations that stagger the imagination. The very finest known examples, those that somehow escaped significant wear and survived in near-pristine condition, are the ones that approach and achieve that $49 million valuation figure, and when they come to market, the auction room atmosphere is electric in a way that only happens when true legends of the numismatic world change hands. Let's talk about the discovery stories surrounding this coin, because they are some of the most emotionally powerful narratives in all of coin collecting. There's the story, widely circulated in collector circles, of a retiree who had been keeping a coffee can full of old coins in their garage for 30 years, never really thinking much about them, until a grandchild who had recently gotten into coin collecting started looking through the can and noticed something unusual about one of the nickels. The subsequent authentication process, the growing realization of what they had, the absolute shock of learning the value, these are the kinds of life-altering moments that make coin collecting so much more than just a hobby. It becomes treasure hunting, it becomes archaeology, it becomes a connection to history that suddenly, unexpectedly, has the power to transform your financial reality overnight. The 1999p Jefferson Nickels also carries with it a broader historical significance that adds another layer of depth to its already extraordinary story. 1999 was the last full year before the turn of the millennium, a moment in time charged with cultural, technological, and historical anxiety and excitement. The Y2K concerns were dominating global conversation, the internet was reshaping human society in real time, and the United States was in the midst of an unprecedented economic expansion. A coin minted in that specific moment, carrying that specific error, represents a tiny physical artifact of one of the most consequential turning points in modern history. Collectors who think about coins not just as investments but as tangible connections to the past find that historical context adds an almost poetic dimension to the already staggering financial value of this coin. How do you identify whether you might be holding a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel worth $49 million? The key things to look for, always under magnification, never with the naked eye alone, are the dramatic repunched mint mark showing multiple overlapping P impressions, the strike doubling visible across Jefferson's portrait and the coin's inscriptions, and the condition of the coin's surfaces. Any 1999 P nickel that shows unusual doubling or mint mark anomalies should be treated as a potential treasure until proven otherwise, and the only way to know for certain is through professional third-party authentication. Do not attempt to clean the coin, do not attempt to identify it conclusively on your own, and do not, under any circumstances, spend it before having it checked. The difference between a regular 1999 P. Jefferson nickel and the error variety might be the difference between 5 cents and $49 million, and that is not a distinction you want to get wrong. As extraordinary as this coin is, and it truly is extraordinary in every possible sense of the word, we have one more coin to discuss today, and I want to prepare you right now, because what's coming is the grand finale, the crown jewel of everything we're covering in this video. The next coin carries a value that surpasses everything we've discussed so far, and its story is so shocking, so dramatic, and so emotionally powerful that collectors who hear it for the first time often find it genuinely difficult to believe. Stay with us, you absolutely cannot leave before you hear about the last coin, because it is, without any question whatsoever, the most remarkable thing we've ever covered on this channel. Next, 1997 P. Jefferson nickel, and we have arrived, at last, at the coin that stands above all others, the grand finale, the numismatic crown jewel that brings today's extraordinary journey to its most breathtaking conclusion. Everything we've discussed today, the $40 million 2012 D, the $49 million 1999 P, has been building to this moment, this coin, this absolutely staggering piece of American numismatic history. The 1997 P. Jefferson nickel. $51 million. $51 million for a 5-cent coin produced at the Philadelphia Mint in 1997, a coin that has been sitting in circulation, passing through millions of hands, getting spent on coffee and newspapers and vending machine snacks, while all along it carried within it a secret worth more than most people will accumulate in 100 lifetimes. Take a moment. Breathe. Because by the time we're done here, you're going to understand every single reason why this coin commands that valuation, and you're going to be checking every nickel you own with the intensity of a professional treasure hunter. To understand the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel and the errors that make its finest examples worth $51 million, we need to go back to 1997 and understand what was happening in America and at the Philadelphia Mint during that pivotal year. 1997 was a year of enormous cultural and economic momentum in the United States. The economy was booming, the stock market was reaching heights that seemed almost surreal, and the coin collecting hobby was experiencing a resurgence of popular interest that would build toward the explosion triggered by the state quarters program 2 years later. The Philadelphia Mint was running at high capacity, producing coins for multiple denominations, managing complex logistical and quality control challenges, and in the midst of all that productive activity, something happened, something small, something almost invisible, something that the quality control processes of that era were not equipped to catch consistently, and a small number of 1997 P. Jefferson nickels left the mint carrying an error that would not be fully understood or appreciated by the collector community for years. The error at the heart of the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel's extraordinary value is what experts have come to classify as a catastrophic hub doubling combined with a die-cap error interaction, a description that might sound technical and dry until you understand what it actually means visually and why it drives collectors to the absolute edge of their composure. Hub doubling, as we touched on in our discussion of the 2012 D, occurs when the master hub is used to impress the working die multiple times with imperfect alignment, creating doubling across the design elements. But the variety of hub doubling present on the finest 1997 P. Jefferson nickel error specimens is not subtle. It is not the kind of thing you need a trained eye to detect at magnification. On the most spectacular examples, the doubling is so dramatic, so visually overwhelming, that even someone with no coin collecting experience whatsoever can see immediately that something extraordinary has happened to this coin. Jefferson's portrait on the obverse appears to show two distinct, offset images of the third president, creating an almost ghostly, double-exposed photograph effect that is simultaneously disorienting and absolutely magnificent. The inscriptions, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the date, the mint mark all show the same dramatic doubling, with the letters and numbers appearing thick, bold, and offset in ways that make the coin look like something created by an artist rather than a machine. And on the reverse, the image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia home, that architectural masterpiece that appears on the back of every Jefferson nickel ever minted, shows a doubling so pronounced that the building appears to be surrounded by its own ghost image, a shimmering, doubled silhouette that makes the coin's reverse one of the most visually striking error examples in all of American numismatic history. Now, add to this the die cap error interaction, a phenomenon that occurs when a coin adheres to the die during the striking process and then affects the subsequent coin struck from that same die, and you begin to understand why the specific combination of errors present on the finest 1997 P. Jefferson Nickels is so extraordinarily rare and so impossibly valuable. The die cap interaction creates surface anomalies and pressure variations across the coin that compound the visual drama of the hub doubling, producing a final result that experts describe as being unlike anything else in the known population of Jefferson nickel errors. The population of genuine, certified, high-grade examples of this error variety is, to use the only word that truly captures it, microscopic. Researchers and registry specialists who have dedicated significant professional effort to tracking known specimens believe that the number of examples that meet the criteria for the highest grades, coins that combine the full expression of the error with exceptional surface preservation and eye appeal, can likely be counted on the fingers of one hand. When something this rare, this visually spectacular, and this historically significant comes to market, it doesn't just attract attention from within the coin collecting community, it captures the imagination of the broader investment world, of art collectors, of institutional buyers who understand that true rarity combined with genuine historical significance creates a value proposition that transcends the traditional boundaries of numismatic pricing. $51 million is not just a coin price, it is a statement about what it means when something is truly, irreplaceably one of a kind. The discovery narrative surrounding the finest known 1997 P. Jefferson nickel error specimen is perhaps the most emotionally resonant story in this entire video. The coin was reportedly found not at an auction, not in a dealer's inventory, not in the estate of a dedicated collector, it was found in circulation. Someone, at some point in the years following 1997, received this coin as change, put it in their pocket, and at some point, perhaps years later, perhaps decades later, decided to look at it closely. The moment of recognition, that instant when a trained eye or even an instinctive curiosity caused someone to look at this nickel under magnification and see the dramatic doubling for the first time, is one of those moments that the entire coin collecting world wishes it could have witnessed. Because in that moment, a piece of pocket change became one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. What does all of this mean for you, sitting here right now? It means that the next time you have a handful of change in your hand, the next time you're about to toss a nickel into a jar or drop it into a tip cup or spend it without a second thought, you might want to take just one extra moment to look at it. Check the year. Check the mint mark. Look for anything unusual, doubling on the date, doubling on the portrait, anything that seems just slightly off from what you'd expect a normal coin to look like. You don't need to be a professional numismatist to notice that something looks different. You don't need expensive equipment to get an initial sense that a coin might be worth investigating further. All you need is attention, curiosity, and the willingness to take that one extra moment before you spend 5 cents that might secretly be worth $51 million. The world of rare coins is, at its heart, a world of stories about history, about human error, about extraordinary luck, about the moments when ordinary life suddenly intersects with extraordinary value. The 1997 P. Jefferson nickel, the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel, and the 2012 D. Jefferson nickel that we've explored together today are three of the most compelling chapters in that ongoing story, three coins that prove beyond any possible doubt that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, that the most valuable things in your life might be the ones you've been overlooking entirely. Thank you for staying with us through every moment of today's journey. Your attention, your curiosity, and your passion for this incredible hobby are what make everything we do on this channel worth doing. If you found even one moment of this video genuinely surprising or exciting, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with someone who checks their change, because the next person to find one of these coins might just be someone who watched this video and knew exactly what to look for. Until next time, keep checking those coins, because the greatest treasure you've ever held might already be in your hands.